bringing you the future today. This is Resetting Tomorrow. Tales from the frontiers of science, engineering, technology, and telecom.
Welcome to Resetting Tomorrow. I'm your host, Hugo Malan, and today we have an exciting guest joining us, Kelly Schulz, the CEO of the Maryland Tech Council. Kelly has a remarkable background in driving innovation and workforce development across Maryland's thriving life sciences and technology sectors. Under her leadership, the Maryland Tech Council has been instrumental in creating opportunities for businesses and individuals to grow, while also addressing some of the region's most critical challenges, like the skilled labor shortage in biopharma manufacturing. In our conversation, we'll be diving into Kelly's work with the Maryland Tech Council, their ambitious vision for the future, and their workforce development initiative, BioHub Maryland. This program is doing incredible work to connect veterans, high school graduates, and disadvantaged communities with life-changing opportunities in the life sciences field. We'll also explore how Kelly and her team are tackling the ever-growing demand for skilled talent, partnering with leaders across the technology ecosystem, and how they're working to position Maryland as a top innovation economy. So get ready to learn all about the incredible things happening in Maryland and a whole lot more. Kelly, welcome to the show, and thank you for joining us today.
Well, Hugo, I could not be in a better place. I'm so excited to have this conversation. Thank you.
To start off with, why don't you share with our listeners a little bit of your background and how you came to be where you are today?
Oh, that's a big question. So first of all, I will say right now today, I'm the CEO of the Maryland Tech Council. And I'd like to say that everything that I've done in my past has led me to what I believe to be the perfect job, professional kind of place for me to be at this point in time. So going back at the beginning of my professional career, I would say that is relevant to this. I was a legislator, so I was elected to the state legislature representing my district in Maryland, and learned a lot about policy, learned a lot about the different industries in our area and how to promote them. After 4 years there, I was nominated and chosen by Governor Hogan to serve in his cabinet as the Secretary of the Department of Labor. And I spent a glorious 4 years there. That was, I think, one of the highlights of my career. After 4 years, I then was asked by the governor to become the Secretary of Maryland's Department of Commerce. So after that, I ended up here, which was a wonderful highlight and a wonderful way to look at the professional development and understandings of workforce development, which is what we created at the Department of Labor, and then also economic development in the industries that we love to be able to serve and create larger ecosystems for, which is life sciences and technology. So I've had so many great opportunities along the way, and this is kind of the pinnacle of where I have been.
What an amazing journey. Now, Maryland is home to some really exciting and innovative life science and tech companies. Can you share a few examples of your member companies and the big challenges they're tackling?
Yeah, so the Maryland Tech Council is a little bit unique from other tech organizations around the country. So we're very fortunate to be able to represent and advocate for members of the life science community. So everything from the creation of the human genome and discovery of that, which happened right here in Maryland, to cancer researches and vaccines, and also, on the other side of our house, technologies. So whether that be digital technologies and AI, and Maryland is one of the leaders in the development of AI technologies. Also, cybersecurity, being so close to organizations like the National Security Administration and DC in general, but also energy and sustainability technologies. And we have a lot of first in the country types of technologies that are being developed that are around the technology sector that are incorporating even some of those biologics and AI together. And I think those are some of the big advantages of us incorporating, I would say, I like to call it technology agnostic, right? We just love innovators and we love technology.
Well, I can hear your passion for technology and life sciences. Is there something in your background that triggered this passion for those disciplines?
Well, I'm not a scientist. My children like to say, who are now grown with their own children, they both are working with more science background than I have. Although I did graduate with a political science degree, and they said, "Mom, that doesn't count." So I'm not here because I know the science behind everything that our innovators work on, but I am here because I understand that the way that our economy, the way that our world works right now, it has to incorporate technology, and being able to advance those fields and those sectors is important not only for the revenues that it creates for our economy and gross domestic product and everything that we do for the expansion of this country, but it works for those everyday employees and those individuals and communities that are benefiting from life-altering technologies. And it's a privilege to be able to represent them and to be around what they are doing, because it's a passion and it's a mission, knowing how we're going to create, not even the next 10 years of our world. Technology is happening so fast that, in 6 months from now, things are going to be different in the way that we handle things. And the fast activeness of that is something that's exciting to be around.
Well, speaking of mission, I believe the Maryland Tech Council's mission is to save lives, secure the nation, and improve quality of life through innovation. That's a lofty set of goals. Can you elaborate on how MTC is helping its members achieve these?
Yeah, so those are not light, are they? I mean, changing people's lives, changing, the way that we live and the way humans can prosper and be healthier is, I would say, I don't take that lightly. And every day when I'm out and I'm meeting with members that are making these life-altering discoveries and doing research and development on rare diseases, or finding ways to protect our water systems through cybersecurity, or finding ways to be able to connect biologics through AI and the collection of data. We work every day not only to create great networking opportunities so that we can expand the ecosystem, but we work diligently with federal, state, and local policymakers to make sure that we're creating an environment, both a statutory and a regulatory environment, for them to work within so that they can expand. And because technology is changing, sometimes our policies need to change right along with that. And we work with those policymakers to make sure they would get it right. But in addition to that, we also work on the workforce development end of the equation, understanding that we have to create an entire new population of individuals that are prepared to work in an entirely new, innovative, and technology world. And science, technology, engineering, and math, all of the STEM occupations, and preparing people for the very specific skills that are needed in a wide variety of technologies is critical to them being able to expand in, actually achieving their mission, which is the same as ours. And so it's an all day, every day type of a job, but there's enough people within our industry sectors that are working together to make that happen.
Well, needless to say, the workforce development is something we're very passionate about on the Kelly side as well. So I'd love to go deeper on that. But before we turn to that, can you give a few examples of the policy changes that you've enacted or helped to enact to make the environment more conducive to business success?
That's right. And sometimes it's helping to make them not get enacted, right? So we have to be as supportive of the good policies as we are, trying to steer people away from some of the bad policies. I would say right now at the state level, a very important policy that we've been advocating for is prescription drug affordability for patients, and understanding what those patients could be paying, should be paying, and how expensive that process for research, development, manufacturing, and distribution of life-altering therapeutics can cost. There are several policies at the state level and now at the federal level that we're trying to say, there's more than one way in order to be able to bring those cost savings to the actual patient. So we talk about a prescription drug affordability board, and we are an advocate for our members to make sure that we're not without thought, putting upper price limits on products that could deter the expansion or the development of new drugs and therapeutics and research in the area. So we're very heavily involved with that. We're also involved with, on the other side, data centers, wanting to make sure that they have a regulatory process to come into in this state, which would be a relatively new technology industry that the state will see benefits from, both economically for businesses and also create new types of jobs and career choices for employees in the state, and helping to get those regulations to a place where it can be a welcoming environment and mutually beneficial for both the state, the local jurisdictions, and the businesses themselves.
What sort of career choices do you think you can facilitate the access to?
I think those are endless. So I'll take the two industries that I just spoke of. So take the prescription drug industry. You have everything in that industry sector, from the scientists that are doing the actual laboratory experiments to an entire ecosystem of people within that business community. You have to have purchasers, you have to have marketers, you have to have manufacturers. And one of the things that the Maryland Tech Council is working with those manufacturers of pharmaceuticals and gene and cell therapies is creating an entry-level workforce so that they can go into a manufacturing environment without having a college degree. So we're providing them with certifications and skills necessary to walk into a manufacturing type plant in that community, to begin work in day one and continue their training and develop more skills, but having that immediate entry where they may just have a high school diploma prior to that. So that's exciting. And on the other side, let's just take the data center example. We need a lot of licensed electricians. So there is an entire new flurry of activity when it comes to apprenticeships and what it means to create those individuals through the apprentice process and get them up and ready to satisfy a new industry that we did not have the capacity to serve before.
That is really exciting, especially with the ongoing escalation in the costs of college education. Creating these alternative paths towards a really exciting, fulfilling career that does not necessarily go through the college. Sounds like it's meeting the needs of both folks on the ground for alternative options and also ultimately for the needs of business. And the fact that the MTC is playing such a pivotal role in this, I think, is really exciting. Is this related to the BioHub initiative that you all are leading?
Yeah, so that is the entry-level training is our BioHub Maryland program, and that's on our website. And I can't say enough about that. It's several years in the making. We did an industry study maybe 5 years ago that asked the industry members in our jurisdictions what was one of the things that was missing in order to be able to help them advance in the workforce arena. And one of the main components of that was that entry-level trained workforce that they can come into an environment where they're going to choose to make a career, continue to choose to move forward with additional education, but we are giving them basically that step up. And so that's what we're training right now. And we're excited that we've gone through one major cohort, a two-week program, and developing new employees for the future. One of the things that we know is that people change careers frequently throughout their life, right? They might find something that they can do that's just going to be a job, and they go from job to job to job. And this goal is to be able to create a career pathway for individuals that may not have had that career pathway before. So sometimes we're getting returning veterans or those from the military that are looking to go into the civilian world. People don't necessarily think that they can go into a career in life sciences, biotech, biomanufacturing, because they haven't spent their whole adult life training for that. And it's important to show people that there is a pathway to that very important, high-paying, very mission goal-oriented type of profession that a lot of those individuals are looking for.
That's very exciting. I imagine, though, one of the challenges you must face is fostering collaboration between so many different stakeholders. And you've got business involved. You've got, I believe, a partnership with the National Institute of Bioprocessing Research. Then, of course, there's the legislative bodies involved. And how do you kind of manage to ultimately get to a win-win outcome across so many different stakeholders?
Well, I mentioned that I'm a previous politician. So I like to say I'm a recovering politician. So pulling people together and coming to consensus is really part of this job in which I'm in today. And I think having some of those skills to be able to talk about not, there's nobody that needs to be top billing enough other than others being a part of that top billing. And just because somebody is utilizing resources and developing resources doesn't mean that the resources of others is not pertinent to the ecosystem, to the conversation. So in our example of BioHub Maryland, there may have been some community colleges or some other organizations who may claim that they were providing that service, and then there's not a need for what we are offering right now. And I guess the only thing that we can go back to is routinely the survey of the industry. Those that are actually utilizing the talent that's coming out are saying that there's a gap. So we're only here to fill that gap. We're not here to take the place of somebody else and what they're trying to do and to perform a very necessary service in that particular criteria. And it's just, being sometimes very delicate, but also being very honest about what we can provide and what others can provide to fulfill a need, not for ourselves, but for the need of the industry that's looking for us to create that change and that differential. It can be tricky, Hugo. It can be tricky.
I can only imagine. Now, beyond biopharma, I believe Maryland is, as I think we mentioned earlier, also a strongly growing hub for technology. And of course, you mentioned data centers. Is there something unique about Maryland that makes it particularly suitable for fostering technology companies and placing data centers?
I think the innovation factor alone has Maryland in a very high standard when it comes to founders and people looking to develop different types of technologies or to take advantage of the IP that might already be in existence because of one of the resources and assets that we do have in Maryland, and that is 74 federal laboratories. So we have far more than any other state. Our proximity to Washington, D.C., to the FDA, to the National Cancer Institute, to USDA, there's just so many that are here, not to mention the military establishments and the bases that are here in Maryland as well. So innovators and scientists and PhDs and founders are just a natural byproduct of where we live and the people that live here to create. I think, however, Maryland sometimes struggles because of the federal presence with the federal labs to really distinguish ourselves as a larger commercial region for that IP and those individual folks to kind of move into a more commercial and growth area. When you look at geographically around the country, you automatically think about Boston and California and other parts of the country that may be the leaders in some of those larger commercial innovations, whether it be, Northern California with tech, and you've got the big names, you've got, the Seattle region, right? But there is a differentiator here because we have so much talent that is homegrown in these other assets that we have. But there's also very specific regional expansions that we can look to build upon, like the data center example. We are just north of the Potomac River, north of Virginia, Loudoun County specifically, literally right across the road from the southern end of our state in Frederick County. And they are the largest global area in the world for data centers. There is not another part on the globe that has the concentration of data centers like Loudoun County, Virginia. So because we have the proximity to them, there's not a lot of room for them to grow in that particular part of their state. they could just come over to the Maryland side of the river. They dug underneath the Potomac and brought all of the fiber and the cables in to be able to develop a piece of property that is just basically adjacent to their current properties. So there's geographic assets and there's also human assets. I think that makes us stick out as we become even further a technology kind of center for the country.
That is a remarkable collection of success factors. And I'm sure the fact that you have the best soft shell crab in the world also is
that doesn't hurt. That doesn't hurt. Right. Our whole Eastern Shore, I have to give credit to the watermen out there. They would hate it if I didn't mention them, but they're the ones that create, actually, agriculture is still the largest industry in Maryland outside of this. And it's fun because if you go to Eastern Shore and you see a lot of that agriculture that's really occurring every single day, and the Chesapeake Bay, a huge asset of what we have, they're also using technology, right? Our farm community is using technology like never before, and a lot of that is being developed right here in Maryland too.
It is a beautiful part of the world. Well, Kelly, this has been such a great conversation. I really appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
Well, I am so thrilled to be here, and I'm grateful to you, Hugo, and your team for putting this out because they're important conversations to have. And workforce is I always told my friends at the Department of Commerce when I was at the Department of Labor, you cannot have economic development without workforce development, and that is true. And we have to focus on that, and make sure that all of our partners have access to all of the best trained and talented individuals that we can produce.
No question. Well, before I let you go, I do have a few quick final questions. Have you come across any really cool new innovations or up-and-coming companies that you think are going to change the future?
Yeah, we have a company here called Ion Solutions, and they're a battery storage, and they are going to change the storage of energy for the entire world. And they are right here in Maryland, and I'm really excited about the possibilities with that. Sustainability is key.
Very exciting. Where do you see the world heading in the next 20 to 30 years? Yeah. In that sort of time frame, how are our lives going to be completely different?
It's hard to say 20 or 30 years. It's hard to even say 5 years, Hugo, because of the development of technologies and the fast actions because of AI and other variables. I would say that we're going to become even more dependent on this type of communication that we have right now. I think we're raising complete new generations of individuals that have no idea what the complete 100% human interaction is. But I see that we're going to want to get back to that human interaction and not be as reliant on technology, even as it creates necessary advancements in our world.
When you face challenges, as you must have done through your amazing career, what keeps you motivated and pushing forward?
The mission, right? So I come from a world of public service, and I work in a nonprofit organization now, which some could say is, public service as well. And I have a vision from when I started my career to try to make a difference and do things well for my fellow neighbors here in the state of Maryland. And I still have that mission and want to be able to deliver.
And how do you unwind after hours and take care of your mental health and de-stress?
Well, I have 2 grandkids, and they live relatively close to me. And that is a super recharge when I get to spend time with my grandson and my granddaughter, which I try to do often. But I would say that's also not very relaxing, but it does good for the brain because they run faster than I do and their legs are this big, but it's good exercise. But I would say I love being outside. And so being able to garden, to be able to tinker and, put rocks in a different place and plant a different variety of something and even pull weeds, it's very stress-free for me and it brings me kind of back to center.
Okay, final question. If you had a time machine, but it can only go in one direction, would you go to the past or to the future?
Future.
Why is that?
I've already lived the past. I think we are all, here because of what we have done and the choices that we have made through the past. And I really enjoy where I am right now. And I would want to see my grandkids grow up. I would want to see my great grandkids. I would still want to be connected to what we have planted here, the seeds as humans in our time, in our space. that I'd like to see the results of that in the future.
Sounds like a very wise answer. I hope all our listeners with time machines take note. But Kelly, thanks again for joining us. It's been wonderful having you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
And that's it for this episode of Resetting Tomorrow, brought to you by Kelly Science, Engineering, Technology, and Telecom. A huge thank you to our incredible guest, Kelly Schulz, for sharing her amazing insights into the work being done at the Maryland Tech Council, especially with initiatives like BioHub Maryland that are shaping the future of our workforce and our innovation economy. And to you, our fantastic audience, thank you for tuning in and embarking on this enlightening journey with us. Your support means the world to us, and we couldn't do this without you. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and comment on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback fuels our mission to bring you the most captivating stories and thought-provoking discussions in the world of STEM. And remember, if you're in need of expert talent or are looking for new opportunities yourself, be sure to visit us on the web at resettingtomorrow.com. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep resetting tomorrow. This is Hugo Malan signing off. See you in the future.
This podcast was produced in partnership with Amaze Media Lab.